Hey guys, Mr. King here again. Today we're going to do a project for the younger guys in which we are going to make a awesome haunted house with a really cool spooky sunset scenario. I've got a couple examples, some partially done, some totally done right here. Kind of the different skill level sets that we're going to use across, because this is going to be both the youngest grade levels, doing it kind of the most simple way possible, and then the older grade levels as we step up the difficulty. Except for my 5th and 6th graders, are going to be doing something totally different. So, if you're ready to make your haunted house, here's what we got to do. First up, you are going to need a thick piece of paper. We're using watercolor paper because we're going to use watercolors on here in the end. But if you don't want to use watercolor paper, you could use cardboard, cardstock, and then black construction paper for the shadow of our house. So what we got to do is, first up, we're going to take our black paper. And then we're going to take something we can see with. Now, you could use a pencil for this, but on camera, to make sure it show up better, I'm going to choose a construction paper crayon. I'll get a bright color like my green or my yellow, and I'm going to draw some basic shapes here on the bottom to start building my haunted house. So, first up, I'm just going to make a square, and this is going to be kind of like the main structural part of my house in the middle. Then I'm going to add a front door, because you got to have some way to get into the house, right? So a rectangle right in the middle of that. And off of that square, we're going to build maybe a lower rectangle, which will be like an addition off the side of the house over here. And then maybe a slightly taller, thinner rectangle on the other side. Again, it's just another addition on the other side. So one side we could say is the garage, and one side is the main part of the house. So then I'm going to start building some of my rooftops. So I'm going to go from this corner of this square down to my rectangle and make a rooftop. I might then make another rectangle on top of here, which is going to be another larger part of my house, adding on the second floor. And then I can make maybe a bit of a tower on this side right here, so it's a little higher like a spire. I'm going to add a rooftop to that. And you can either just end your triangles right at the end right there, or you can even have them stick out just a little bit, so you can make, get this, actually, no, it's called the soffit, the little part that comes back in over the top. And then we might do one more of those, maybe a little bit wider, a little shorter over here. Same kind of thing, have the rooftop stick over a little bit. It's kind of a nice point. Now, if you want to use this side of your paper and just draw the rest on, this is what my younger guys are doing. You're just going to draw on windows, use your bright color. You can make circular windows, square windows, it's up to you. Make a bunch of them, because it just becomes a lot more interesting that way. Okay? You can actually add a detail in there by doing the little plus sign in there that makes the grid that goes in most windows. That's a if you want to. Don't really have to do it in the circle one, but I will. And then you're going to do your coloring. So I'm going to choose to have kind of like a pinkish glow inside of my window, so I could just go in with my pink here and add that little bit. It's up to you if you want to do this. Add as much detail as you want. You could add all kinds of really fun things to this, but let's pretend I did the rest of that. So my younger guys, just color them in. Make it easy that way. But if you're on the older end, or if you just feel like you were able to, regardless of which way we do it, we're going to cut out, no matter what way we do it, we're going to cut it out. So don't make your building too complicated, because you want to be able to cut out. I'm going to show you a trick. If you have a small detail like this little bit of the roof overhang, just cut off that larger piece of paper. You don't need to worry about turning your scissors in a small space that way. So I'm going to cut this all the way out. Get that extra black paper off. One more little spot to do up here. And now let's talk about doing 3D doors and windows. So if you want to have your door actually open, you're going to want to cut up one side of your door and then just in from the edge. And this is what everybody should do. You should be able to have the front door open up. You just fold it over, and there you go. You got your door that opens up and closes. If you want to have it on the black, silhouette of the house, just a shadow, flip it over and just fold it the other way. Now I've got my door that opens and closes from this side. Okay? To do the windows, and I'll show you on the black side here, you just find out wherever you want to put your window. So I'm going to put a window right here. I'm going to pinch my paper until I make a little crease right there. I'm going to cut at the bottom of where I want my window and also at the top where I want my window. that's gonna make a little hole, an opening I can slide my scissors into. So I'm gonna slide my scissors in, I'm gonna cut up that crease that I made before. Once you've done that, you're gonna have two little flaps and you can bend those over. And now I have windows that actually open and close. So you can add a couple of those in there. I'm just gonna do 2 open and closable windows on mine. You could do 3 or 4, you could do even 5. I had some kids make a lot of windows. So, still going. All right, now I'm ready to take my house, which I have all my pieces done, and I'm gonna glue it onto my white paper. I could do either the crayon side or the just black side. I'm gonna do just the black side here because I just like the way that looks. So on the crayon side here, I'm going to add my glue. You could use liquid glue. I'm using a glue stick. I think it's a lot easier to control the glue on a glue stick. So you're just gonna glue. The one place you don't wanna glue is the back of your windows or the back of your door, because you don't wanna glue your doors or windows down. If you get a little glue on it accidentally, don't worry about it. You can still open up those, peel them back open, the doors, the windows, and then just use your hand to kind of wipe off the extra glue that's left behind underneath. And that will prevent it from gluing down. Works better when the glue is still wet. Okay, I've added glue everywhere, so I'm gonna flip it back over the side that I want. I'm gonna paste it down, making sure to smooth out everywhere on my house to make sure it really stays down. And there we go, it's on now. This is where I would like you to have a permanent marker. You want a permanent marker because this next part, you're going to want to be able to draw and not erase when you put water on it. So you can add your details. So I might make a fence over here. So let's do a straight line across with some going up. And we're just gonna do kind of up arrows on each one of those to make it look like that wrought iron, fence with little spikes on it. I might end up putting a gravestone on one side of my house. Well, this marker's almost out of ink, but that's okay. It'll have enough to make it through. I could do a rectangular gravestone right there next to it, but I'm just gonna leave it with just a regular, shadow of the gravestone right there. I could put clouds in the sky, any number of things that I wanna do. Maybe some, like a weather vane here up on the roof. So you can do anything you really want, all kinds of details like that. And then once you've done that, I would actually say just use whatever Sharpie you can find or whatever marker you can find. You can use watercolor or water-based markers for this. Color in those windows with a glow. Now you could have your glow be yellow, or I like how creepy and spooky it looks when you use the red. So I'm gonna do mine red. I made a red glow for my house. Makes you wonder what's going on inside. I had a couple houses that I did for my examples had a green glow on the inside, so that can work too. Yellow's good. You could do purple or blue if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you. I just like the spooky colors. All right, so there I got my red glow inside of my house. I've got my details on the outside. I've got my house. Now I'm ready for my very last step, which is I'm going to use watercolor pencils, but you could be using a regular like Crayola watercolor palette. Either way works. You're gonna pick your lightest color that you wanna use. In my case, I'll do yellow for kind of like my sunset here. And you're gonna put that at the bottom of the page. Now the reason why I like using the watercolor pencils is they're just easier to lay on and blend with before you worry about adding your water. So there's all my yellow. Then you're gonna go to your next darkest color. Now you can really choose any one you want. I'll prove it to you. We'll use, let's do red. Do red, we'll go yellow to red. And you're gonna overlap your red a little bit with your yellow. Go ahead and add a bunch each side of your house. Don't worry about your marker because it's permanent marker, so it will not wash away with the water. And then finally, my darkest color. Let's do deep blue, or maybe we'll actually do one more color. So deep blue up here. We'll have that fade to something else at the very top. So I went from yellow to red to deep blue, and we'll end it appropriately with some black as it fades to an evil night. Okay, so as you can see, the colors are not very visible yet. It just looks like kind of scribbled on colored pencil. So the very last step that you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna take a wash cup, some sort of glass or a cup with some water in the bottom of it. And if you're using, at this point, the regular watercolors in the palette, you're just gonna wanna dip into your palette. And you'd be doing this the whole time with paint, so you're painting your lightest color up to your darkest color. It's gonna make it look like a sunset, that's what we're going for. but like kind of a spooky evening sunset. So I like to start from the bottom of my paper. You could always start from the very top, just don't start in the middle. And you're gonna work in your paints. Now, that's one of the reasons I love the watercolor pencils, is it's so easy to control them in terms of blending. You know, you're just never really gonna make mistakes with them. So makes this pretty easy. I'm just literally putting a little bit of water on and kind of showing the image underneath. Almost instant gratification, you know what I mean? So pretty cool. So you're gonna do that. So you can see there's that one side done. Let's do the other side real quick. We'll get to the middle after. Yeah. Now my cloud here, I don't want to have that painted in. I'm going to leave that white. I might even do like a gray there if I wanted to, maybe with like a pencil, like a regular #2 pencil, but I'm going to leave it for now. Put a little more water right there to blend that in the blue. And let's get that middle part done. And the nice thing is you don't really need to worry about getting extra water in your black paper anywhere else. It's really not that bad. Just don't make your paper sopping wet, because you don't want to weaken the actual paper itself. That's why we're using a really nice thick watercolor paper here, because it'll stand up to a lot of abuse. And there you have it. There's my spooky sunset along with my haunted house. You can see a lot of other examples. This one I put a ghost up in the sky over above the house. This one actually has a ghost in the sky and the window. This guy's got like a creepy guy in the window watching you. Let me see if I open the window so you can see it. He's right there. Here's just kind of my traditional one. So you can see there's lots of different ways to do it. I think these are a lot of fun. Again, if you're doing it with the little guys, just let them draw the stuff on the house. You could do the front door still, because that's easy enough to do, but don't try to have them cut the windows. That can be a big pain in the butt. So really just draw them on right there. And the cool thing is we're gonna learn about using basic shapes to build a building, basically, which is kind of cool to talk about. If you're talking about the older guys, you're talking about shadow.